Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm Brewery. It is another very special episode. We've got something a little different planned this week. It's the set review that is not a set review.
We did a set review last week, so
and this is not that. This is an episode about Jumpstart, but not a set review episode because Jumpstart prices are whose line is it anyway, right? The numbers are made up and none of it matters right now.
Pop quiz: how many times before Jumpstart have they named a set after a mechanic after the mechanic?
Wow, okay.
Hold up. It's more than zero, probably. Maybe. Thinking. There's got to be some old thing that became the name of something.
Vision's not a mechanic.
The Mirage mechanic.
Lots of set names aren't mechanics.
Is this at least one? Is there an what?
Yeah, is this a trick question?
Am I going to give you the answer to the quiz?
I'm just, is the answer nothing? That's what we're asking. Just give us that.
Yeah, our first guess is zero. Like,
I think it's adorable that you think I know.
Okay, that's what I figured on.
My favorite thing is you're like, yeah, he's not just...
I'm so far ahead of you because I already pulled up a list because I knew there was no way you knew an answer. I don't think that there's going to be anything, though. Now that prophecy seems like it could be one, it's not.
There's never a mechanical prophecy.
I know. It just sounds like a word that could be a mechanic, though.
Yeah, that's what I thought was Vision. I was like, is there an obscure mechanic named Vision?
Yeah, does Darksteel
Vision
count?
3, target permanent, I don't know.
Darksteel.
Well, if Darksteel is this artifact is indestructible, if we're counting that, it came out at the same time because the first time
you're right.
that mechanic was in the set called Darksteel.
I guess if you have to point that out, you're technically correct.
The best kind of correct.
Wait. It might not have been Darksteel. It might have been Mirrodin, but that was
Morning
before.
Tide is not a set mechanic.
It's a card with a mechanic.
Lots of time
It's a card with a mechanic. Okay.
I don't know what that mechanic is. I don't remember what the card Morning Tide does, but I know it exists.
That's not the quiz.
I understand.
Look, man, this is like it's like a law school quiz. You just have to write all the shit you know and hope the person
is the answer black green.
Yeah,
I got that one right, dude.
Is it a 4/4 flyer with vigilance?
Look. If you got that question wrong, you were never going to win the Great Designer Search. So as much as people are like, "Well, that was a bullshit question," that was one of the easiest questions on the quiz, and if you got that wrong, you probably got 7 questions.
Well, how do you
total.
define easy by anything other than your own head, Jason? Because a lot of people missed it.
Well, because they didn't read. Look,
wasn't that easy?
It was open book, and they're like, you know what? I read their design philosophy. I'd never read any of that shit before, and they're talking about,
understand.
We would never put it in 2 colors where the shit was primary. So you're like, well, what's secondary for vigilance? What's secondary for flying? It seemed fairly obvious to me. And
no, I mean, for what it's worth, I agree with you.
I did not get enough questions right to move on to the second round because I missed like 6, and they're like, "Oh, if you missed 2 or more, you're out."
Well, they had to do something to cut it down. I mean,
yeah, it was crazy.
However many, tens of thethousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know, however many submissions they had.
Yeah, so I'm not claiming I'm like some design genius, like I care, because some of the other ones, like
DJ, I've been stalling this entire time while going through the sets. And I think the answer to Jason's pop quiz is 0.
Okay, I'm glad.
Somebody is screaming at their car radio right now because they know the answer.
I'm through 2015. I haven't found anything yet here.
We don't know.
So, yeah. There you go, everybody. I know that's how you all really wanted to start this show. So welcome into Brainstorm Brewery. I'm Corbin.
Hey,
that's Jason popping the pop quiz on us.
We don't care how you want to start the show. Either Corbin or the listeners. Like, sorry, we did our podcast our way. We've been doing this for 8 years. We haven't listened to any feedback from any listeners.
That's not true.
We haven't
incorporated any feedback. How about
we
that?
don't delete your emails. We read them and then we do a mocking voice. We read them to each other and just laugh at you.
They get put in a cryogenic Dell laptop, which is much worse.
Listen,
we cool them off for 5 years, then we read
it's them. A Mac, DJ. Come on, buddy. Come on. Because Macs
when
are
you
better.
said Rurik Thar could kill somebody by hitting him with a land 7 times, it was painful to listen to. You guys don't know anything about EDH. We do that. We do the Dr. Roxo voice from that.
Anyways, everybody, thank you for listening. I'm sorry you had to put up with that right at the beginning, but welcome to the podcast. We're going to talk Jumpstart today. That's going to be the episode. It's not a set review because the prices don't matter, and we're going to get into that. The set comes out in a couple weeks. We have some nice stuff planned for the next couple weeks. We're hitting episode 400. So we want to do Jumpstart now while it's open on our schedule. But the prices are all over the place right now, and they seem like they're not particularly real. So we'll talk about all of that. Let's start, though.
Price is it anyway, where the prices are made up and the numbers don't matter?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not paying $60 for Tiny Bones. I'll tell you that much.
That is correct.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will in 4 months. Maybe this happens.
Well,
but
let's start things off. Let's do Breaking Bulk.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Break.
Oh yeah, Breaking Bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking Bulk. The end.
Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Bulk time. Breaking Black Uncommon from Jumpstart time.
Is it a reprint or a new one?
It's a reprint.
Blood Artist.
No. It is
Is-
a creature.
A different black creature. Okay.
Its original printing is within the past 3 years.
Trying to do bulk of a set that we haven't ever picked. Exhume?
Its original
in the
printing
last 3 years.
was-
Oh,
within
original
the last-
printing, not last reprinting. I gotcha. Okay. I don't know offhand. Jason, any guesses?
Any guesses? I don't even know what's in this stupid set, dog. It's not Blood Artists. Is it a vampire though?
No.
Is it? So it's not Gifted Aetherborn.
No.
Some bitch.
This card was
I don't know.
this card was the harbinger of power creep to come.
Oh my gosh, I don't even
and
know
it's
what
not
that
Gifted Aetherborn.
What does that even mean anymore?
It means it's like it was something from
Like when
Choops.
this card was
The
previewed,
Choops.
people were like, "Is this too powerful?" And then we're looking back on it like longingly.
Chupacabra.
Yeah.
Bone Picker.
Chupacabra.
It's Bone,
Bone
Picker.
Picker, yeah.
Bone Picker's like, I'm a better delver.
I thought Bone Picker was a thing for a hot minute. I have some number of those set aside that, this will be a pick down the road.
No,
Spoilers,
there
it's
were
not.
many an article written about Chupacabra where it's like, I don't like this card because there's no decision making. It invalidates gameplay decisions. It's kind of spooky with Scarab God. And now we're looking back just longingly at 2016.
Yeah, Ravenous Chupacabra, by the way, 4 mana, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls any creature.
It's a
one of the first
Necrotal
effects
with an extra toughness. Ah!
Well, and it can target black creatures, which was
And it's optional.
Really the differentiation. Yeah, and it's optional, so you don't have to hit your own.
It doesn't have to
Although
kill itself.
you also cannot hit your own.
No, but it's
Because
like
it's
if they have a Blood Artist or a
Chupacabra.
Grave Pact or
Yeah.
something, you can just be like,
Yeah.
nah.
All right, I'll keep this rolling though. I'm gonna go with a Jumpstart Black Uncommon.
Oh boy.
Is this one Gifted Aetherborn?
No, it's not anything that's been mentioned yet. Its original printing is, I'll say, from a set we've talked about already tonight.
And it's not Bone Picker?
It is not.
Is it one you guess is a Blood Artist?
No. It was
Exhume?
originally printed in Morningtide, and it was $1.50.
Oh, so it's from a forbidden set.
This is the reprint.
Is it what's the fairy? I
Yeah,
play
it is
this
a fairy.
card.
It's Una's Blackguard. I'll give it to you. Yeah.
I was like,
Una's-
I literally
yeah.
play this card a ton in Sig. What?
I love Una's Blackguard. It's a 2 mana 1/1 flyer. Each other rogue you control enters battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. Whenever a creature you control with +1 counter deals damage to a player, they discard a card.
Yeah,
It's actually like low key kind of insane for
I've been playing this
fairies.
card for years in Sig, and before that, it was in Marchesa the
Yeah.
Black Rose. You just mind twist somebody on turn 4. Whew.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I guess it wouldn't be in Pioneer, but maybe in Modern. Someday they're just going to do the Rogue set, and then Una's Blackguard is going to be $5 when everyone needs Una's Blackguard to enable their degenerate 1/1 Rogue, right?
I am ready.
Yeah, you get like your 1/1 flying Rogue that comes in play with a counter on it, and as like a 0/0 gets one counter, and you play Blackguard on 2, hit them with it, and they have to discard.
Rogue.
Yeah, well, that one doesn't come down on turn 1 in Bitter Blossom tokens, but yeah, Una's Blackguard is over $1 before this printing. We have no idea what Jumpstart will do, but odds are it's still going to be a pick.
We don't know what Jumpstart will do, so I'm not picking a Jumpstart card because I don't have to.
Okay.
I'm not bound by your rules.
Okay.
I am picking a black uncommon.
Okay. Sure.
From what?
From what set?
Dominaria. Its original printing was in the last 3 years. How about that? Its original printing was in the last 3 years, but it's not in
Whisper.
Jumpstart.
Whisper.
No. It's not a creature.
Not a creature.
Settle the score.
Nope.
What was the rarity?
Uncommon.
Uncommon.
It's a $3 uncommon on TCG Player.
Oh, crud. Okay.
But it's $1
Rat
on
Colony.
Card Kingdom.
No?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
No,
Rat Colony was... Rat Colony is a common.
That's a common misconception.
Black and Dominaria. It's a whole sacrifice theme. Thallid themes. It's what? It's a sorcery?
Is it the tutor?
Yep.
Oh. What's the name of the card? What's it do?
Final Parting.
Final Parting, yeah.
Search your library for 2 cards, put one in your hand and one in your graveyard. Then you give the old library a shuffle.
That's actually a cool one. That is
it's a really cool one, and I
actually didn't realize it was worth that much money.
Oh, yeah, and you've got a lot of them because it wasn't worth anything forever, and then
you're right about that. Yeah,
this is in 10,000 black decks on EDH Rec. So like, it turns out
now they have Grim Tutor though. It's the end of
but they have a $20
final
tutor.
party.
They don't have a $2 Grim
yeah, of course.
But putting something in the graveyard is a feature, not a bug.
Yes,
You're
that is
paying
also
one
true.
more mana to just have access to an additional creature. So this is very much tutor for 2 cards in Corbin's Guess, Whisper Blood Liturgist. That's the top commander for this card, but Blaywing the Risen, Lazav, Marcel, Virals, Sir Conrad.
Carador, baby.
It's really weird because, like, I wonder how many decks are playing this and not Gerard's Orders.
Well, that is green, right? So
right, but like I feel like there's big
probably
overlap between like
graveyard deck, green black graveyard decks, pretty much.
Like,
yeah, that's the
it's
thing.
all non-green decks that are playing this. Like Cathril, Virals, and Glissa are playing it, but like also Chainer and
that's what I was
Iname
thinking.
Death Aspect and Croxa and Garna, like a lot of non-green decks have to play this.
I guess I don't know the answer to this per se, Jason, but is mono black one of the more popular monocolored options for Commander? I would assume it is, but
yes.
Okay.
I'm just curious if there's any EDH rec data to actually back this up, or it's just something
the most popular mono black commander is Carrick with like 1,800 decks, and Yawgmoth with 1,400. And if you look at hey, EDH rec lesson. What I went to commanders, and then it brings down a drop down list that says mono, 2 color, 3 color, 4 to 5 color. I go to mono, so I went to black first. So 1,800 Carrick is the number 1 for black. The number 1 for white is 900 SRAM decks. So like mono black is twice as popular as mono white. Let's look at some other colors.
At the top, yeah.
Blue, the most popular mono white or mono blue commander is 1861 for Urza and 1243 for Talrand. So mono blue is quite popular. And
sure, that also
mono
makes
blue
sense.
can do everything, and like that makes sense. Mono red, we're probably looking at under 1,000. Oh shoot, 2,400 for Krenko, and then it falls way off. 1,400 for Torbrand.
Well,
so,
I'm on green, which you might expect to be a popular one, but actually the top popular mono green commanders is Zuri Renegade Leader, the Elf Lord, and it's only in 1,200 decks.
But and this is in the last 2 years because EDH Rec is only displaying the data from the last 2 years.
So nobody's data is perfect at any point, but last 2 years seems like good data to me, right? That's what we care about.
Well, in the last 2 years, 900 people made an Omnath Locus of Mana deck. So That's
or updated their deck list online that they made
sure
10 years ago with Omnath. But yeah,
because there are new cards that come along every once in a while. People update their list. Like,
all right,
Omnath
so it sounds
recently
like
got Vivian Monsters Advocate, Migration Path, Ram Through, and Bonder's Enclave. So like, yeah, that's a thing.
So it sounds like Mono Black is certainly near the top. I checked out Colorless on EDH Rec just to check. Actually, 1,300 decks for Kozilek the Great Distortion. That's kind of funny.
Which is almost as many as Kirik. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, everybody. Little EDH Rec dive this week. That's always fun.
I mean, that's not like advertising for EDH Rec. That's like how to use your tools. Like,
yes, yeah.
I mostly make my predictions based on EDH Rec data, and it hasn't steered me wrong yet. So
yeah, I mean, EDH Rec consolidates data, and data is the most, basically in this business, the most valuable thing you can have. So anyone who isn't using sure. I suppose you're technically right about that.
Information worth money, but money's also worth money. Ooh, got us there.
But yeah, anyone who isn't using MTG stocks, Echo MTG, if that's the one you prefer, EDH Rec, these websites that actually give you some amount of data, that stuff's very valuable. And what you do with it is, well, you listen to this podcast and we hope you learn what to do with it, just like that. Let's move into sudden substitution. This is where we pick a card that is expensive and we give you some less expensive options. And as a reminder to everybody, if you like any of the cards we're talking about, anything that you hear on this show you want to see more of or pick up for yourself or whatever, check out our sponsor, channelfireball.com. They have all the content you could want. They have prices on all these cards that are good and competitive. And there's a really cool buy list promotion going on right now where if you're a member of CFB Pro, you can just send them a box and they'll price it for you and buy it. You actually don't have to, we talked the last couple months on this podcast about how the pandemic would affect this. And you're seeing one of those innovations right now with Channel Fireball telling people, just send us a box of cards. We'll do the rest, which is interesting. So keep that in mind as we move forward. And with that said, let's do sudden substitution. The card today, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, 8 mana flyer, makes all your other permanents indestructible. It's very expensive. It's obviously to an extent irreplaceable, but there are some cards that
8 mana,
are similar.
$50 bill.
Yeah, there are cards that are similar, or you might want to play in addition to your Avacyn if you're fortunate enough to already have one. So I'll start. Sephara Sky's Blade. It's a 7/7 for 7 mana. You can pay, and this is actually a weird little ability, but it's cool. You can pay a white and tap 4 untapped creatures you control with flying rather than pay its mana cost. So you can spam out a bunch of flyers, then slam this. It's a 7/7 flying lifelinker. Other creatures you control with flying have indestructible. So it's not Avacyn. Look, obviously nothing is. We understand that doing sudden substitution, but maybe this gives you something else to build around. Well, now I'm going to build flyers, and now I get an Archangel Avacyn when I get one, and I get to play Sephara Skyblade to make them indestructible. So, yeah, you have to change your deck a little bit, but it's an extremely powerful card that kind of fills sort of the same role as an Avacyn would.
And, like, flyers are getting a little bit more popular. People are taking another look at Sephara in the context of Enias, the Jumpstart creature that, like, if you... attack with a bunch of flyers, you can swap permanents around on the board, so it behooves you to play a bunch of small flying creatures, and Sephara's getting another look because it's so perfect in a deck like that. Keeps them from removing your commander, and you can play it for cheaper.
Yeah, Alayla, the Artful Provocateur.
Provocateur.
Yeah, learned how to say that word right now. That's another recent one that was from the Throne of Eldraine time period. I believe it was a Brawl deck, but that's a popular one that also makes a bunch of flying tokens, so it also would work with Afara.
I've got a good one. Soul of New Phyrexia, a mythic from Core Set 2015, oft forgotten about. Just find it in the dollar bin. It's been in a couple Commander reprints, but this card can save your board. It is a 6 mana 6/6 with trample, and then for 5 mana, you don't have to tap it. For 5 mana, permanents you control gain indestructible till end of turn. So if you play it with 11 mana, or if you reanimate it or do some other shenanigans, the same way you'd bring out your Avacyn for cheaper, you're just making everything indestructible all the time. And if they manage to kill it, or if you mill it, or if you discard it, you can give it one last little hurrah, pay 5 mana, exile it from graveyard, get that effect one more time. So this just does Avacyn's job. It is probably the closest thing to Avacyn, I think, and you're paying 2% of Avacyn's price, while also just being a powerhouse.
It's also an artifact, which, you know, like we said at the beginning, none of this is Avacyn, but this is actually an Avacyn you can play in non-white decks, so it has something going for it just on that alone.
Yeah, I've seen this in mono green decks when my opponent's playing like Azusa or just some giant green mana fuel engine, and it's like, well, I guess this is Avacyn. They have 35 mana. Like,
yeah, I mean, it also kind of beats down, right? 6/6 trample is not an 8/8 indestructible flyer, but it's certainly not bad. If you're talking about green decks, you're going to play this on,
and I mean, being
turn
an artifact,
3, turn 4.
You can Goblin Welder it. You can transmute it.
Why would you welder it? You can use its ability when it's in the graveyard.
You put it into the graveyard with your welder.
Oh, so you can exile it. Good thinking.
All right, great picks, everybody.
We're always looking for angle shots here in Brainstorm Brewery. You're like, swinging for 6 with this is good, but what if we could sack it to welder?
Just always got to be thinking outside the box.
Yeah. We're not beholden to your narrow conception of what constitutes a good play, where you don't mill yourself for 10 and get rid of your only win condition.
All right, what do you got, Jason?
I've got a card that I think is a little bit underrated. It doesn't play exactly the same way. Selfless Spirit is a card that I think should get played a little bit more because it's a 2-mana 2/1, so you know it gets there a little bit earlier.
It pressures planeswalkers very well.
It does pressure planeswalkers, and in Commander, flying is more valuable than you think.
Yeah.
People tend to gum up the board, but like early flyers can get in there for quite a bit of damage, and like you said, can put a little bit of pressure on those early planeswalker plays. And Selfless Spirit can sack itself to make creatures you control gain indestructible till the end of the turn, which doesn't sound like exactly the same thing, but when you think about all the ways to bring back creatures, especially small ones like this, and to be able to recur that ability, I think you'll find that you can get a lot of mileage out of something like Selfless Spirit, especially because you're going to be revel arcing it back a lot and stuff like that.
I like Selfless Spirit a lot.
There's also something to be said that Avacyn is only going to protect things from the moment you play Avacyn on, and it costs 8 mana. Whereas Selfless Spirit, you can play it on turn 2, and now, turns 3 through 7, you also get to protect your creatures in a way that Avacyn can't. So yeah, Selfless Spirit, I agree with you. Underplayed. The card is a really nice effect. Being able to make things indestructible for no mana at instant speed. You've seen how powerful it is in Pioneer and Modern. It certainly makes sense that it'd be very good in Commander as well.
I played this. I used to have an Archangel flip Avacyn deck, and I played Selfless Spirit in it because it let you manipulate her flip and her
that's right,
her wrath really well.
Transform.
Because if somebody else triggers her flip, then you can sack Spirit to save your board, or you can just trigger her flip whenever you want.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, TJ. All right, it is time for us to jump into Jumpstart.
Oh no.
That was very clever.
I could hear in your voice that you kind of had the corners of your mouth up, like, huh? No.
I was trying to see if I would get a buy.
I
won't lie. Yeah.
Shit like that. Come on.
I won't lie. I was trying to see what I could get away with there. Just come on.
All right, everyone, let's start.
I'm the only podcaster.
Huh? Get it?
I'm the only podcaster to. I'm the only podcaster to ever make that pun. It's fine. That was an incredibly original thing I came up with that you should not make fun of me for.
Maybe you should stop or you're going to get jumped.
Okay, there you go. Well, let's talk about Jumpstart. Let's start at the top. It comes out, I believe, on July 17th. You will buy booster packs, and those booster packs have a different pre-selected card possibilities that go along with the theme. And there's a million different themes, and the idea is you jam your themes together and you play against someone else jamming their themes together. If you've ever played the game Smash Up, it's Smash Up for Magic, and I'm here for it. It seems awesome, and the reprints are awesome. Before we get into the specifics of some of the financials we're going to talk about, what is your guys' take on this set? Do you think that this is a concept that's going to do well?
I do not think it's going to do well, and I think that mostly owes to the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think this was like bring your friend to the LGS and just stick around at one of our tables and this will be fun. Yeah. And like, it's a better way to teach someone to play Magic than like trying to teach
Commander.
them with. Yeah. Yeah. Commander. Terrible.
I see that all the time. I see that all the time.
2 legacy decks.
Yeah. I see so many people whose first introduction was through Commander because it makes sense. Their friends taught them and their friends are playing at home and their friends are playing Commander. And, you know, if you have a pre-con, it helps. But you're right, actually. Jumpstart is sort of the level up from those welcome packs or welcome decks they would give people that were 30 cards. This is an actual enjoyable way to take part in sort of the same experience for a new player, but a lot more rewarding for, you know, old player like us.
Now, if we could go to the LGS, this would do a lot better. I suspect it's going to be a tough sell for finance people to buy boxes of this, and like if the packs aren't going to sell well, the impact of this is really hard to anticipate.
So my analogy here is like, imagine if Battle Bond was released during the peak of World War II
and had no foils in it. It's like Battle Bond with no foils.
Why do the people have to imagine it's World War II? Like it's just a pandemic.
Yeah, people wore masks during World War II.
You're right about that.
There was a common enemy in World War II.
I want more analogies from DJ. That was the
John
best,
Madden.
That was the best real word analogy I've heard in a minute.
Here's a guy where it's World War II. He does the annexation of Puerto Rico. What?
I miss John Madden. Grew up on John Madden calling football games. Anyways, I mean, look, you guys are absolutely right.
Everybody's John Madden here, just living proof that white people can only fail upwards. You should spray your disgusting feet with tough actin Tinactin.
That is quite the dated reference. We're such a boomer cast now. And look, I'm right there with you on that one, but there's just everyone under the age of like 24 is like,
I'm
John Madden.
Confused.
What's tough actin Tinactin?
That's because all these Zennials don't have any money because they can't afford tough actin Tinactin. So like, people didn't always just pee on their own feet in the shower to kill the athlete's foot. Like, what's going on? There was actually a medication for that. We had no idea. We don't have health insurance.
Tough actin Tinactin is pretty good.
It's better than peeing on your own feet for sure.
Looking at an old John Madden commercial, it's something. But bringing that back around to Magic, though, you guys are absolutely right that this set seems destined for doom. It's not its fault. It seems to me one of the cooler product lines, product ideas they come up with.
Every booster pack of the set is gas and no one will care.
Yep.
Yeah. And I actually feel kind of bad. I believe I want to source this, but I believe it was Doug Bayer who was credited by Mark Rosewater with pitching the initial idea at Wizards. And I think it's an incredible idea, and it's unfortunate it's not really going to get a fair shot here because of the pandemic. So I hope that doesn't...
This set has a playable unicorn. How is this not your favorite set?
I hope this doesn't disappear and they say, well, that didn't do well, let's never do it again. I hope that this idea, this concept is not completely forgotten because it's going to get destroyed by the pandemic, but we'll see.
Well, DJ brought up Battle Bond, and that reminds me of the time my LGS had a bunch of extra boxes of Conspiracy 2 because he accidentally ordered too many, and he sold them at cost, and wow, those were real great at cost. So your LGS is never going to be stuck eating it too bad on Jumpstart because they can always just lower the price a bit. And the lower the price gets on these boxes, the more attractive they are, because if these singles don't really make it to the market and like really lower prices, all of a sudden you're looking at, is this like $100 booster box that has like a $25 Ristic Study and a $50 Crater Hoof in it? Like, if the prices don't really go down, then these boxes become incredible. So it's really either these boxes do their job and bring the prices down, which is what we want, or they are just lottery tickets. The prices don't go down, and then the supply goes up, and then it's up to us to inject them into the market by virtue of just buying these packs and paying $8 for a pack and be like, well, there's a $50 Tiny Bone. So Either way, people in our position, I think, are going to win big on this set, and I'm glad they did it.
Yeah, look, these reprints are great for everybody. And the thing is, the reality is, yeah, some people would buy these packs and open up nice cards, but a lot of people just buy the singles on the secondary market. And this is one of the things, and Saffron Olive has talked about this before, but this is very much true that when Wizard says this isn't for you, this product isn't for you, this set isn't for you, I mean, that's technically true, but it's also kind of not, because the whole point of a reprint
is not meant for you to purchase off the shelves immediately.
Right. It's not meant for you at retail, but reprinting the cards is going to bring the price down, and then you're going to buy the new cards. The set is for you, and that's the way I feel with Jumpstart. Even those people who would never play this way, it's like limited, or I don't have friends who want to learn this way, whatever, right? They were still going to benefit from all these reprints hitting the market, and now it sounds very concerning. Like, this product's just not going to sell, and these prices are going to stay expensive. And for the reprints, sure, that means they probably don't get as cheap as they otherwise would. But for new stuff, like say Tiny Bones, that's kind of problematic, I think.
Like a really good I mean, this is a less flaming analogy, but like when Ultimate Masters came out, when there was a lot of that, this product isn't for you, this product isn't for you, if you don't want a $400 box, this product isn't for you,
right? All
that. But like, if you're a Commander player who wanted $5 Phyrexian Towers, that product was for you. If you're a Commander player that wanted $8 Phyrexian Altars, that product was for you. If you're a Modern player who wanted like $20 Noble Hierarchs, that product was for you, even if you didn't buy a single pack of it.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, we'll see. We're going to talk about some of the cards we like and so on, but let's start with the high level now that we've talked about the pandemic. What do we actually think is going to happen to these prices? Tiny Bones is allegedly $50, $60. Oracle Moldiah, the reprints, $30+. Same with Exquisite Blood. These are the prices we're seeing today, a couple weeks before the set comes out. But if we look at a set that did just come out, Core Set 2021, I'm not sure we've seen prices exactly plummeting quite yet from that. And that, suggests that the pandemic really is impacting how many cards are going to hit the market. And as a result,
booster drafting was a huge way for copies to get into the market.
And now that's not going to happen.
Booster draft, they would sell those copies to their LGS. The LGS would throw them in the case. Like, a lot of that's just not happening.
I think a lot of the niche cards get hit pretty hard, just like with Mystery Booster. In the staples,
what's an example? What's an example of a card?
By niche, do you mean cards whose price was predicated on scarcity?
I think cards where the demand wasn't super high, but a lot of the price was just based on the fact that the card was printed forever ago. Like Riptide Laboratory is a really good example of this, I think, where it was just a very old Onslaught rare that had a niche ability that you could put in a lot of blue Commander decks, but not all of them. But it was never really just a huge staple. It was, I've got an extra Riptide Laboratory, I could put this in my zombie deck, but you didn't need it. But this is the first sort of bigger printing of the card to hit the market, and that's going to be crazy for like, there's just so many of these being added to the market compared to the number of people that want them. Compared with something like Oracle of Moldiah, where thousands and thousands of people have just been drumming their fingers on the desk and looking at their watch saying, come on, come on, come on, come on. And the second we get any noticeable supply, it just gets immediately snapped up. I think those are two very, very different kinds of reprints, even though they're in the same set.
Yes. Great point.
And if you go to EDH Rec, like, I don't think the absolute number of decks on EDH Rec means anything. Some people are like, I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's in more than 10,000 decks. Like, that means anything. I think the ratio of Oracles of Moldiah to Ghoul Color Gisas or Scarecrows or Herald's Horn or something like that, like, I think you look at that.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
I mean, like, we did the Craterhoof Behemoth Sudden Substitution a couple weeks ago, and we did get a few comments along the lines of like, well, this is poorly timed. Why are we getting cheap Craterhoof substitutions when a reprint's imminent? And you saw this. Well, this is why, because Craterhoof is just such a mega staple, and Jumpstart's just such an awkward position that you might be the person who goes like, finally, my Craterhoof Behemoth reprint. Thank Jesus. Now I only have to pay $20. I don't think that's true. I think you're going to be looking at Craterhoof a month or two from now and being like, what happened? Why didn't it go down? And that's why we make those sudden substitution videos, knowing that the reprint was coming.
In a COVID-less universe,
sure,
Jumpstart was not going to bring the price of Craterhoof down to the extent that like other
that people wanted it to, right? It's interesting. Craterhoof, and this is really speaks to the popularity of Commander. Craterhoof was last reprinted in Modern Masters 2017. It came out of the gates there at $10. 3 years ago, literally 3 years ago today, it was a $10 card. Today it's a $50 card. And look, before the pandemic, it was a $35 card. So even in a different world, this card was not going to go down to $10.
Like almost 50% of that price increase was from the past 3 months.
Jumpstart,
Yes.
Jumpstart could never get this card to $10 under the best circumstances, but we are in the worst circumstances.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I really think Craterhoof being in Jumpstart will give you the ability to pay $10 for a booster of Jumpstart and get a Craterhoof, but it's not going to give you the ability to pay $10 for a copy of Craterhoof.
Yeah, I mean, just looking down the list here, these are the cards. Some of the cards I would say fall into that category, right? And please, you all, if we have disagreements, Craterhoof is one of the most expensive reprints in the set. I don't see that plummeting. I do see Exquisite Blood plummeting. I don't see Oracle plummeting. I don't see Ristic Study plummeting.
I don't think
Shield
Exquisite
Grid
Blood drops as much as you think it does. I think Exquisite Blood is in a very similar situation to Oracle.
You think Exquisite Blood has played that much? It's possible I don't have the numbers on that. I didn't think it was that played.
The Sanguine Bond is cheap because Sanguine Bond has been printed 5 times, one of them in uncovered.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Oracle and Exquisite Blood are in a very similar boat together.
Okay, there you go.
But there were cards like Ristic Study that like you could have printed this at Mythic, like it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
But like Mythic versus Rare doesn't matter in this weird set anyway either. So,
that's also a good point.
I'm more worried about the new cards.
Like Vidalcan Archmage is something I think loses a lot of power.
That was something kind of fringy. It's its first reprinting, but like it's already down to $7, and it would like peaked at like what 12.
And there's also just so many versions. Like there's so many ways to draw cards in that kind of color combination and archetype that like it was filling a niche, but there was a lot of other things to fill that niche. And
how do you feel about
So
Isamaru is I think we can all point at that as one that's probably gonna just fall off, right?
Well, it's already $3. It's dead.
I mean, sure, it's dead in that sense, but I just think that this card's just never.
Isamaru was in mystery boosters,
right? Yeah, it's just I think an example of a card that the price is going to plummet even further as a result of this reprint.
There are cards that have demonstrated an ability to shrug off reprints, and maybe you do want to look at EDH Rec and be like, well, maybe 10,000 card like inclusions is the cutoff or something like that, but like whatever that number is. I think you can look at something like Primeval Bounty versus something like Cathar's Crusade, that are both about the same market price on TCG Player right now. And you know that Primeval Bounty has been printed once.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to recover from as much as it drops as something like Cathar's Crusade, which has multiple printings, like in EDH precons, and just we'll get there. We'll go back up. Cathar's Crusade will be above $10 someday. Like, unless it gets reprinted every year. So there's scarcity and then there's playability. And I think there are multiple cards in this set that have demonstrated their ability to shrug off multiple reprints.
Yes.
Phyrexian Tower, Craterhoof, Cathar's Crusade, Something
almost all of them, right? Shieldred, Rise of the Dark.
They picked a lot of good reprints for sure.
Yeah. This is a really stacked set. So I think you want to focus on stuff. If it's a toss up between something new and something that has demonstrated that it can shrug off reprintings because it's played a lot in EDH, I would tend to feel safer investing my money in something that has demonstrated that its price is going to be cyclical, but like you're buying it at the bottom and selling at the top, and you're aware of that. Like something like Black Market is cheap because they print it twice a year. But that was a card that was like almost unattainable before.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, I'm going to throw this one out to you all. The most expensive card in the set, Allosaurus Shepherd. 1 mana, green, mythic, 1/1. It can't be countered, and green spells you control can't be countered. 6 mana until end of turn. Each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and is a dino. And this is the market price is $50. The only copies available are $90. So this is obviously a little silly, but I don't know. Is this is the hype, at least maybe not the price, but is the hype warranted in Commander, Jason?
In 6 months, Craterhoof will be number 1, Tiny Bones will be number 2, and maybe Selval will be number 3, or Rise of the Dark Realms. I really think that's how it's gonna.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the non-mythic Exquisite Blood could get there.
I'm not as high on, say, Exquisite Blood or anything, but I'm with you on. I think Tiny Bones is the card that will settle up there, like you said, towards the top. The card's nuts. 2 mana, 1/2. At the beginning of each instep, and if opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life. 6 mana, each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life. Nicol Bolas, the Ravager. Here comes Tiny Bones. I'm excited.
But
give me a foil, you cowards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they will.
Eventually,
the thing about Tiny Bones is, like, I almost don't even care what Tiny Bones itself does, because you're going to make so much money on the cards that go in the deck.
Uh-huh.
And EDH Rec has finally got data, and it's just bearing out everything I thought. I was manually going through Arca-deck lists and, like, manually tabulating the inclusions in that deck. And it's just one of those decks that's just so obvious that it builds itself, and when that happens, the staples in that deck just go up, because everybody wants a Waste Not who builds a Tiny Bones deck.
Yeah, that's right.
So, like, how do you build Muxus Goblin Grandy? Nobody knows, but everybody knows you put Bottomless Pit in your Tiny Bones deck, and that goes from 40 cents to $14 just overnight. So, I mean, if Tiny Bones isn't even in the top 5 most valuable cards in this set in a year from now, I don't think that matters. I think the money you're going to make in the near and even the longer term is just building the Tiny Bones deck, building the Inez deck, building the Muxus deck, and the Zog or whatever that devil dude is. I think the stuff that, like, gets built around these commanders is what matters. And, like, if Emil the Blessed is $1 in a year, it doesn't matter, because Emil is going to make so many cards
and
worth more money.
And these are cards that we picked like 2 weeks ago that we put on the spreadsheet. I mean, Jason and I picked I mean, you were on Necrogen Mist and I was on Mind Slicer 2 weeks ago, but like that, we've already started to see those go up. Mind Slicer was $7 when I picked it, and now it's $9. Like, that's just it's very, very easy to just make those correlations even if you don't play Commander.
And that's why I use EDH Rec, because, like, as soon as you have the data, what the most people are building, it's real obvious what's going to go up. I have a Tiny Bones pick of the week this week, just because, like, the number one deck.
I do too.
The number one deck on EDH Rec right now is Sisse, because everyone's pretending they're going to build the Sanctums list, and nobody's going to do that stupid crap.
You talking about the shrines?
The shrines, yeah.
Yeah.
They're legendary. They go in Sisse.
Yeah, like, they're not
Sisse's
particularly...
number 1, Golos is number 2. You're not going to build that deck. Stop it. So, you're not under quarantine. Like, if you could go to your LGS and pick out all those dollar cards like you did for Arcades, great.
Sure.
When you built your dumb Arcades deck and played it 3 times, like, yeah, you could go to your LGS like, oh, do you have Wall of Hope or whatever? Like, yeah, you could do that, but you can't do that now. You're not going to sit there on Card Kingdom and fill up a cart full of these stupid shrines and, like, all the stuff that you need to go in the Sisse deck. Like, people who are building a deck are going to build a deck they're super jazzed for, and I think people are jazzed for Tiny Bones, they're jazzed for Emiel, and they're jazzed for Inez. And I think the stuff that goes in those decks is way more important than the commanders themselves. Tiny Bones could be worth $1 in a year, and I'm going to make so much money on Tiny Bones, and it has nothing to do with the card itself. So, like, who cares how much Allosaurus Shepherd? Like, if you want to play Allosaurus Shepherd in your deck, spend $90 on a box of Jumpstart and you'll probably get one. Don't spend $90 on an Allosaurus Shepherd. So, if the prices don't come down enough for you're comfortable buying the single, like, just don't worry about it. There's so much other stuff in this set that, like, where you could make enough money to just trade for one.
Yeah, what I love about this set in general, and I don't know if this is shared or is something that most of the public even cares about, but I know it matters a little bit to y'all, is everyone looks at the top of the reprints and everyone's mad because we don't have fetches. And They look at this set and they're happy because there's so many expensive reprints.
Yeah.
I'll say that there's a lot of cheap reprints that I love here. Buried Ruin.
Oh, for sure.
Chain Lightning, Gifted Etherborn, Curious Obsession, Zyndakar's Royal, Dreamstone Hedron. These are Hedron Archive, Young Pirate. Like, these are all just these dollar-ish cards, $1, $2, whatever, that everyone kind of forgets about and no one really cares about because it's ultimately not that expensive. But all of these cards that eventually climb to $10 or $15, your Serum Visions or whatever, these cards that even at common or uncommon eventually got expensive. Well, at one point they were $2 too, and then they didn't get reprinted, and that's why they became $7. So I love seeing these reprints here. Yeah. You know, the Exhume as well. There's just so many at lower rarities. It really seems like, and obviously this isn't how it works at Wizards, but it seems like someone took the feedback from the Fetchland outcry a couple months ago and threw it all at this set.
This set is nice. Also has fantastic new cards. Yeah. They could have just been like, whatever, here's some dumb support for your dog tribal deck, and here's some reprints. But
yeah,
they bothered to give us Branching Evolution, which is a card everybody wanted and didn't even know they needed. They gave us Blessed Sanctuary and Immolating Gyre. You know? They gave us cool new commanders. They gave us Bruvac, which is like, people didn't even know they wanted Bruvac. And as soon as they're like, oh shit, double mill on a body? Yeah, I need that.
Yeah. And I mean, heck, even Path to Exile, like the tip top, right, of sort of competitive uncommons are in the set. Herald's Horn is a really expensive one. That's a great reprint. So I don't know. I'll say this. It is very nice as a member of this podcast who has been doing this podcast for a long time, specifically someone who's been doing this podcast since, I don't know, War of the Spark came out. It's nice to have something to talk about where we think Wizards did a good job. Right? Like, I just get so tired of the negativity, but that's how it was.
This is what everybody actually wanted.
Yeah. This was Battlebond 2.0.
What they said they wanted. Wizards ignored what people said they wanted and gave them what they actually wanted. Yeah, it's the tomato
sauce.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we do know that the fetch... Look, there's more reprints coming. We know that the Fetchlands are coming at some point in 2020. There's the Commander Legends thing. This might not even be the last incredible reprint set of the year. But this, everyone loved Battlebond. They loved the price point. They loved the cards in it and so on. And this strikes me as Battlebond 2.0 in that it's probably just going to be universally loved and then promptly forgotten about.
If a non-reserve list EDH card never hits $50 again, I'll be very happy. I don't like when an EDH card hits $50. I don't even like when it hits $35, frankly.
Yeah.
I like churning. I like buying a $15 card for $6 and throwing it up for $14 on TCG Player and selling it the next day. Yep. That's my shit. Mm-hmm. I don't like a $50 card because no one's going to take $30 on a $50 card. They want 40 or whatever. It's like, it's so tough to like, you busted that in a booster for $50. I'll give you 20. Nobody wants to take 20 on a $50 card. You don't like offering that money, you know? They're like, oh, it's worth 50. I'll go just sell it on eBay myself. And you're like, good luck. But like, I don't even want to pay 20 because it's a hassle. And I'm not going to throw it on eBay. I'm going to throw it on TCG Player where I'm really going to, list it for, 42 and then fees and stuff like that. So like if I paid 30, I don't even make any money. So
yeah,
at that point, it's sort of like, it's harder to get them off people. They don't feel good for how little they got. You don't feel good for how much you paid. Nobody really makes any money on the transaction versus just being able to just like, oh, I busted this in a pack. It's enough money that I can pay for half of my next draft ship. You're happy with what you paid. If you feel like sitting on it, you sit on it. If you just want to churn it, you churn it. Like, I love when cards are under $30 that get played in EDH. I build a lot of decks personally. I help people build decks. I have people that tell me to track stuff down for them. Everything's easier when cards are under like $35. And sets like this really help that happen because it was negligent to let Oracle of Muldiah hit $50 when you had multiple times when it was like around 30 or something and you could have just jammed it in EDH Precon and didn't. It was negligent.
Negligent was a great word, Jason. Yes. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right.
And like, they got better in recent years about like coming up with new ways to print cards. If you'd have told me that, like, I would be happy they made a stupid board game I'd never buy because it made like 10 cards that were way too much money, like
slightly
affordable.
less expensive. Yeah.
They just like they paid someone to make a dumb board game that no one ever played.
I think I actually have one across the room from me.
Yeah, I do
because
too.
I've gotten multiple. I never played. I get them in
shrink wrap.
collections. I think I've bought 2 or 3 of them in collections, and I think I sold one and have 1 or 2 floating around.
Because that game was great to pay $40 for, play 2 times, and be like, cool,
God,
I got a time warp. Like,
I don't know if I bought the cards out of it or not, but I certainly didn't pay for the game. It's just, you sell me their cards. Oh, do you want this thing too? Well, I guess I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
I don't
And it's
really
great
I
want
sold those on
it.
People
eBay.
like-
I sold
Yeah.
the board game pieces on eBay.
oh, DJ was using every part of the buffalo. He's
Yeah,
like, do you
no
want
kidding.
the little squares that go on the ground? He's like, yeah, I'll take those. So everybody benefited from that stupid game that, like,
I sold the
if
actual
you
box.
bought
that
it, you
came in,
played it
too.
3 times, and that's it,
I have
right?
no
So,
idea.
like,
Yeah, I got $20 for it, and I was thrilled. I sold one of them to somebody.
yeah, and everybody was happy.
Yeah.
Card
They probably
prices
haven't-
went
they
down.
probably haven't
Some
played it.
people got to, like, I sold the rules booklet for $4. You know, like, everybody benefited from them coming up with a wacky way
Yeah.
to reprint
I sold
cards.
the giant
So, like,
stack of Sapperling tokens from like 8 of the boxes. I
Yeah.
ended up getting 100 Sapperling tokens. I was like,
DJ,
$10.
way to go.
Somebody bought it.
There you go. There you go. Well, and the other thing too is, and Rosewater shared on Twitter that this actually was a result of what they called Jumpstart was the result of what they call a hackathon, which, as near as I can tell, has nothing to do with hacking and just simply means you take everybody out of the office and go do like a retreat so that you remove your employees from the day-to-day responsibilities and say, well, we're brainstorming for these 2 days. And I think that that's how a lot of these products have probably come to be. I imagine that's how the silly board game came to be. And we're kind of making fun of the board game. We're poking fun at it, but ultimately we're happy with it. And we're happy that that same process that led to the board game that didn't work out led to Jumpstart that did, led to Conspiracy that did,
I don't think you
led to Battle Bond.
mystery boosters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know
So
what a hackathon is?
no, I think I made very clear that I do not.
Okay.
Does it have anything to do with hacking?
I mean, it has something
It's
to
when
do
you
with
play
software
hacky sack.
development and like.
Okay, but see, that's what I thought too. But that's clearly
in-
not what happened to
in
design
content creation,
Jumpstart.
A hack is somebody that comes up with unoriginal premises. And,
Also true.
Yeah,
Look,
this is
Rosewater named.
far
That's why
from hacky.
I let up front. Rosewater called it a hackathon.
Stop calling
not
him
me.
Rosewater.
Right, Mark, Marrow. What do you want me to say?
See Mark Rosewater. But
Whatever,
when you call
man.
him, when you call him Rosewater, that's like beyond familiar. Like if you called him Mark, I would be less uncomfortable than you calling him Rosewater. It's like you went to prep school together, like, oh, Rosewater and I. Seriously, I went to prep school in England for 2 years. Everybody referred to each other by their last names.
Oh, I didn't mean to. I've brought some memories back of Jason and prep.
Yeah,
you
like
play
Jason's got some
polo
other
together?
stuff going on apparently that neither of us
Look,
were
dude,
aware of.
English public school is not good. Like anybody who makes fun of the American educational system did not go to English public school. So like English private school was fine. It was good. It was probably better than American public school for sure. But like everybody called each other by their last names, and like you calling him Rosewater, just like, oh, we used to board our polo ponies together. Get the fuck out of here. You're not friends. He doesn't know you.
Well,
if I showed Mark Rosewater a picture, he'd be like, oh, okay, what's wrong with his face? He wouldn't be like, oh, that's Corbin. So don't use his last name like your pals is what
That's
I'm
quite
saying.
presumptuous of you. You don't know.
I do.
You know, I
would
spent
bet
2
money. I would
hours on
bet
the
you
phone
6
with Mark.
burritos.
I
I bet you
spent
6
2 hours on the
burritos.
phone with Mark Rosewater one day. Get out of here.
I bet you 6 burritos if I show him a picture of your face. He'll have no clue who it is.
It's
So,
interesting you say that
outta
actually
here.
because I think that most of the Wizards employees around the office who are aware of who I am actually refer to me as Hostler, and the Magic subreddit flared my account as Hostler. So I'm not even the one who started this
Cool. The
referring to
Magic
people by their
subreddit
last
flared
names.
my account as Brainstorm Brewery Bro, and I can't make any
No,
changes,
that's the
so
finance subreddit. Come on.
That's the only one that matters.
The finance
Not
sub
founder,
that I can't post
not-
links of videos to.
You know what else is good on the podcast? Go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery for as little as $1 a month, which is 20 or 25 cents an episode. You can have access to our Discord server where I can block you, and then I just as of this week found out I can't see your messages if I blocked you. Or maybe that's because they blocked me back. Who knows? But what I do know is for $20 a month, which is $4 or $5 an episode, you get access to this handsome drinking glass. And hey, perhaps another drinking glass will be coming in the mail. Perhaps something else. Who knows? Who knows what we're doing on this podcast? All we know is that we're not taking any of your money home. We're not keeping any of it. We're spending it all, and it is really hard to spend all your money. So we're coming up with new and creative ways, just like Wizards of the Coast, to waste a lot of money on a product nobody's ultimately going to be able to get their hands on. So go to patreon.com/Brainstorm Brewery today. Become our 500th patron. Our 500th patron gets a free foam finger that says Dominaria #1 in your choice of white, black, red, blue, or green, or colorless. I guess that would just be like a clear plastic glove. I'll give you a clear plastic glove that says Dominaria #1 in Sharpie with my signature on it for only $45 a month, which is $11.50 or $12.73 an episode, depending on how many podcasts come out that month. Channel Fireball for all your Brainstorm Brewery needs. We did it. I did. That's all the copy. We did it. We got through it.
Jason's
gonna have to Jason's gonna have to recuse himself on this one. But DJ, I'll address this to you. I would like to nominate that for the Patreon Pitch Hall of Fame. Do I have a second?
It's up there.
Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
All right, let's jump into pick
of the week.
The week.
Pick of the week. Pick of the Massacre Worms. That's my pick.
That's a good pick.
Massacre Worms, $4, guys.
I mean,
wow.
Have you read that card?
Take your pick with Core Set 2021, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
have you played Massacre Worm against a Krenko player?
That card massively went up on the basis of the printing of Teysa, which is still a top 10 commander. All this, on EDH Track. Yeah, Teysa's insanely popular. Teysa just, it's nuts, right? Like, Teysa was already a really popular commander, like lore wise and all that kind of junk, and like it does stuff. And then Massacre Worm was just like, oh, that's gotta be in the deck. It just does so much work. And then it was just like too expensive for everybody. So like, at minimum, I don't think anyone's going to go out and build Teysa on the basis of finally being able to afford a Massacre Worm, but this just definitely goes in the deck, right?
I mean, almost certainly.
Yes.
Teysa is the 12th most built commander over the past 2 years.
Tell people what Teysa does, because that's actually very interesting data.
If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So the Massacre Worm wipes their board and hits them twice.
Yeah, to clarify, then you're talking about just so everyone knows, it's Teysa Karlov, not the old Teysa that made tokens.
Yeah,
because I've actually played against that quite a bit
from
Ravnica Allegiance.
Yes,
the
before times, the before times,
the before
times.
Yeah,
no kidding. Imagine that. I loved Ravnica Allegiance and all went to hell.
I was so good at that limited set. I crushed.
Me too. I loved it. I'm trash at the new ones, but I was pretty good at that one. I'll also take the low hanging fruit here of a Core Set 2021 card, but Azusa Lost But Sinking it's at 8. Seems to already be bottoming out. I don't know about all of you. I certainly did not go to a Core Set 2021 pre-release. I will not be going to a release event. I will not be going to play standard with this.
I got a text message just saying, "Hey, we got 7 people. Do you want to die to play Core Set?" Yeah, as much as I would love to cough germs into the face of my 13-month-old son, tell him, "Daddy won 11 packs today." I opted out.
I mean, look, we all take life is always a series of acceptable risks, and that's especially true in the pandemic. So I'll play some command. I have a small group that I've played Commander with, but going to a store, no way.
And my store is not even being dumb about it. So lots of stores are being dumb about it.
Yeah, but anyways, Azusa then $8. Look, it might get a little cheaper. Maybe it gets to 6, but it's not going to be 5, and it's probably not going to be 5, and it's not going to be 5 for a long time if it is.
Look,
so just get your Azuzas.
If you pay 8 and it hits 3, you get 2 options. You go on Twitter and be like, "Corbin said to pay 8," or you buy enough copies till the average price you paid is $4. And you forget about those $8 copies because, hey, the average price you paid is $4. And then all those $4 copies become 12 someday. And you're like, well, shit, I'm glad I paid $4. Don't say I'm glad I paid 8. Say I'm glad I paid 4. So
that's right.
You actually can't lose if you buy in now. Because you
under that framework, yes.
Yes, you just mitigate the overpayment by diluting it. The solution to pollution is dilution. You just buy so many copies that you forget that some of those $4 copies were $8 and some of them were $2.50.
That's
you
true.
just forget all about it.
And also, I mean, the larger point here is if it does say go to $5, it's not going to be there long and it's not going to be there forever. Yeah. And you're not exactly going to have a ton of opportunity necessarily to play around with this, because there's not going to be a lot of Core Set 2021 hitting the market ever, much less now. 2 months from now, no one's going to remember Core Set 2021. Once we actually get into Zendikar and rotation happens, no one's going to care about Core Set 2021 and open a pack. So yeah, I mean, even if you just wanted to play with, pay $8 for your Azusa, be happy, move on.
It's in 6% of all green containing EDH decks on EDH, right?
Ever.
In the last 2 years.
Ever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, ever. It's probably 10% ever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the card's absurd.
All right, Jason, what's yours?
It was priced out of people's collect. Like, you
That's right.
think about it, like it would actually be in more decks if it had been cheaper for longer.
Yep.
Plus, the new printing has the Masters 25 art, which people like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right about that, because the Masters 25 version, the cheapest it ever got was $15, and then it just went up from there. So. Yeah, you're absolutely right that it was priced out of people's collections when it was $50, priced out of their commander decks. Maybe it was even priced out of them at 20. But it's not going to be priced out of them at 8. And as a result, it's not going to be 8 for long, because
if you want one Azusa, buy 4. Because when you build another deck in 3 years and you're like, oh, I need Azusa for this deck, it's in your collection. You don't have to go pay $19 for it. You're welcome.
Yeah, there you go.
My pick of the week is 5 Azusas. Corbin's was Azusa. Mine is 5 times as many as he told you to buy. I have a Tiny Bones pick.
Okay.
Words of Waste is one of those cards that's like lagging behind the other stuff a little bit, like Necrogen Mist and like Bottomless Pit and all that obvious stuff. Words of Waste is nuts, because the next time you would draw a card, each opponent discards a card from his or her hand. Tiny Bones gives you an additional card draw trigger. At the beginning of each end step, and if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and lose a life. You can swap that for making them discard again. Your goal is to murder their whole hand, and you can make them discard. You can make every opponent discard a card twice in a turn for 2 mana. Seems very, very strong. Like Necrogen Mists does that kind of thing for like 0 mana, but like Words of Waste is one of those cards that, you know,
it's not my favorite discard effect, but Mists, and then you want to have
right. And you can find a way to draw additional cards in a turn too. Like you got something like Phyrexian Arena, or like some artifacts to draw you cards, or you know, like Underworld Connections. All of a sudden you have multiple.
Yeah, like during your draw step, after you draw, I'll sack my Commander Sphere and ruin your day.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? Anytime a card is more money on TCG Player than it is on Card Kingdom, I take notice. The Words of Waste is currently like $2 more on TCG Player, where prices move a little faster than it is on Card Kingdom. So anytime that happens, I click on Card Kingdom to see if it's sold out, and chances are it is sold out. So like, grab those last few copies on Card Kingdom if you can. If not, the TCG Player price of like $6 on this card is perfectly fine. But if you can find it cheaper somewhere else, don't pay $7 for this card. But like anything under $7 on Words of Waste right now is just nutty.
I've played a discard deck for a while. I have Nicol Bolas the Ravager. I'm very excited to put Tiny Bones in it. And I played Words of Waste for a while. It is very good, and these effects are all great. And I did promise a Tiny Bones pick earlier, and then I audibled, but I will add this one while we're on the subject. I love the card Dark Deal.
Yeah.
That it's 3 mana.
It's
black
like
card.
a better Delirium Skeins.
Yeah, each player, it's 3 mana. Each player discards their hand, then draws that many cards -1. So basically you make everyone discard, but you also make a mill, so it triggers all the discard stuff. So that's one that I think will likely go up as well. It's $1. It's actually a breaking bulk. If people weren't aware of that, it's an uncommon from Fate Reforged, not been reprinted before. It's $1 right now. So if we're seeing all of these types of effects go with Tiny Bones, there's no reason that card's not going to double or even triple in price, because it's coming from a pretty low supply.
Dark Deal's a $7 foil too, so that
yeah,
anytime a $1 card is a $7 foil, it tells you that chances are it's getting a little bit of competitive play somewhere.
8 rack maybe, but I don't think so. Yeah, the card's great though. I love it. All right, well, anything else you all want to touch on before we get out of here this week?
Tiny Bones is a rogue. And you're not going to realize that until I get
That's
to
true.
counter
You're right.
owner's blackguard, and then you're going to be like, oh, and then True Name
Tiny
Nemesis look at this curve. Turn 2 Tiny Bones, turn 3 True Name Nemesis in Commander. That's what I like to do with my time.
1v1 Commander. And hey, if you're not into just fighting one-on-one and you want to do a lot of AoE damage, you want to take out the whole table, might I recommend channeling into a fireball. Most people don't know that you can channel into a fireball, but you can also fireball without channeling, and you can also channel without fireballing. But if you put them together, the synergy of channel fireball means that you can have a trade-in bonus that you can be proud of. You can have great competitive singles prices, and you can have channel fireball premium. I don't know if that's what it's called, but you get articles on there.
Pro.
CFB Pro, great. I'm pro that. That's positive. That's a good thing. You can have CFB Pro, which we all have and we all really enjoy, and you should get it because it can give you even more trade-in bonus action. And you can get store credit where you can go to channelfireball.com and buy both channels and fireballs, so you can put them together and fire all your channel balls at people. And they'll be like, oh, I can't believe you channel fireballed me. And be like, well, that's what we learned to do on Channel Fireball, where the best players in the game write articles telling you, like, hey, it's a good strategy to channel all your mana and into a big fireball so you can fire off all your channels. And go to channelfireball.com for all your fireballs and channel ball needs. If they're on fire, you need to get them, and then you have them on channelfireball.com, your one-stop shop for fires and balls and channels. Do it. Go there right now. They have people waiting on hand to send you fireballs in the mail, and then you'll be like, thanks for that transaction. I sent you the money. And they're like, well, if you send us more money, you can read these articles. Then you can read the articles and ball all your fires. You did it. Thank you for watching our podcast, sponsored by Fire Channel Fireballs. Ball channels, fires. We did it.
See you next week, everybody.
I think that was a Rick and Morty channel on.
I was really trying not to get all interdimensional cable with it.
That was pretty good, though.